Okay, I've talked about the cycle of information from database to UI back to database at the high level. Now let's dive into it and talk about it at a significantly lower level. Let me give you this diagram to start with, and it really what it does is it translates the vocabulary that we've used in the different places from one tier to the next. So in the info model, we talk about types and attributes and value patterns and relationships and items and values. That's the language of the info model. But that language translates almost directly to the language of a database. It's not 100% translation, but it's a pretty good translation that types are more or less like tables and attributes are more or less like columns. So if you understand the information modeling language, it gives you a real good head start in the database language. Similarly, in queries, we have this idea of select, from, where, and order by, right? Those are the things that we talked about when we talked about database querying. Those also loosely map to the language of information models and databases. So for example, a type of information in the information model is like a table in the database. And when we talk about tables in the database, we're using that word from. From which table do I want information to come from? Okay, and then similarly we have this presentation tier, and there's really a mapping of this language also into the presentation tier. For example, we have types in the information model, we have tables in the database, we have the from statement in the query, and we have a page type, a kind of page in the user interface. So for example, we might have the page that displays the user information. It displays all the information about the user. That's coming from the user table inside the database, and the user table is representing a user type of information, one user per record in the user table. So this is one level deeper, and what this shows you is that we're really not talking about different things in each of these layers. What we're actually talking about is different processes, different way of representing the information model. The information model really is central to all this, even though it's the database that's in the system, and the information model is really your thinking about how the information should be structured. But that information structure is making its way from layer to layer to layer until it's into the user interface, and as we'll see presently, from the user interface back into the database. All right, well, let's take each of these areas in turn, the information model, the database, the query, and the user interface, and go yet one step further and talk about a very particular one and how the transformations from tier to tier to tier are really transformations of the information.